Chapter 1. You can't be here. You're trespassing. That was the first thing I heard as my wife clutched my arm in the hospital hallway, breathing heavy, her contractions less than 2 minutes apart, and the woman screaming at us wasn't a nurse, wasn't security, and certainly wasn't family. It was Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, who had somehow followed us into the hospital. You heard that right. While my wife was about to deliver our first child, Karen decided it was her business to interfere. She stood in front of the door to the delivery room, blocking the way, shouting that my wife wasn't authorized to use this hospital suite because HOA funds helped maintain the grounds, which was ridiculous. We were at the county hospital. She had no authority there. My wife screamed in pain and doubled over, and instead of moving, Karen actually wagged her finger and said, "Rules are rules. This isn't the community birthing suite. You'll have to leave." That's when I lost it. I shoved past her, scooped my wife into the room, and yelled for the nurses to lock the door. But Karen wasn't done. She pounded on the glass, threatening to call the HOA board to report us. The delivery was chaos. Between my wife screaming in pain, the doctors rushing in, and Karen outside the door yelling about violations, I thought I was losing my mind. When security finally came, Karen was still shrieking about misuse of property. They dragged her out, but not before she screamed one last threat. "I'll see you in court!" I thought she was bluffing. But 1 week later, with my newborn daughter in my arms, I opened my mailbox to find a thick envelope. Karen had actually filed a complaint in county court, accusing us of illegally occupying medical property without HOA approval and demanding fines. It sounded insane, but then again, Karen thrived on insanity. Chapter 2. Court Day C. Aimed faster than I expected. I thought the judge would laugh it out of the building, but Karen showed up in full force. She brought binders of evidence, photographs of my car parked in the hospital lot, screenshots of community bylaws, even witness statements from her friends on the HOA board. She stood in front of the judge, chin raised high, and declared, "This man and his wife knowingly violated community law. They trespassed into a facility without proper authorization. I request a $10,000 fine and immediate removal of their household privileges." The courtroom murmured. Even the clerk raised an eyebrow. But Karen wasn't joking. When it was my turn, I explained. My wife was giving birth. We were in a public hospital. Karen had no authority there. She endangered my wife and child by blocking the delivery room door, and now she wants money? I thought that was enough. But Karen wasn't letting it go. She slammed her binder shut and smirked. "Your Honor, the hospital has cameras. If he thinks he can deny this, let's watch the footage. Let the truth be played for everyone here." And to my shock, the judge agreed. A subpoena was issued, and a week later the footage was ready. When the bailiff rolled the monitor into the courtroom, Karen strutted like she had already won. "This will prove," she sneered, "that I was right all along." The video started. There was my wife, doubled over in pain. There was me helping her toward the delivery room. And then Karen stepped into frame. She blocked the door with her arms spread wide, shouting words the court microphones picked up loud and clear. "You don't belong here. Leave before I call security." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Then came the worst part. The footage of my wife collapsing, crying out in agony while Karen wagged her finger, screaming about rules. Nurses rushed in. I yelled for help. And Karen, Saint kept yelling. By the time the video ended, the silence in the courtroom was so heavy you could hear a pin drop. The judge leaned forward slowly. "Mrs. Simmons, you're telling me you considered this appropriate behavior while a woman was in labor?" Karen stammered. It was a violation of HOA code." The judge cut her off. "The only violation I see here is your abuse of authority. And since you insisted this be played live in open court, everyone here now knows it." Karen's smug smile cracked. Chapter 3. The ruling was swift, decisive, and nothing short of brutal. The judge didn't just toss Karen's complaint out the window. He shredded it. "This case is dismissed with prejudice," he declared, slamming the gavel with a crack that echoed through the courtroom. That meant Karen couldn't refile, couldn't twist the words, couldn't drag us back here on the same nonsense again. But he didn't stop there. With a slow, deliberate pause, He looked straight at Karen, whose smug expression was already fading into panic. "Mrs. Simmons," the judge continued, "not only is your complaint baseless, but this court finds it was filed in bad faith. You have wasted resources, disrupted lives, and attempted to abuse the legal system. You are personally fined for filing a frivolous lawsuit, and you will pay the defendant's legal fees in full." Karen gasped, clutching her binder of so-called evidence like it could protect her, but the hammer kept falling. "Furthermore, this court grants the hospital's petition to pursue charges against you for obstruction and harassment during a medical emergency." That was the knockout punch. Karen's face flushed an angry crimson as whispers rippled across the courtroom. She looked around desperately as if someone might jump up to defend her, but nobody moved. Even her own HOA allies sat frozen, eyes fixed firmly on the floor. When the gavel struck again, case dismissed. Court adjourned. It was like the final nail sealing her coffin. Outside, the courthouse steps had become a stage. Reporters had been tracking the bizarre story for weeks, and now their microphones and cameras swarmed us like bees. Flashbulbs burst as I carried the diaper bag and my wife held our newborn close against her chest. Despite everything she had endured, the stress, the fear, the humiliation, she smiled through tears. "All I wanted," she told the reporters, her voice trembling but clear, "was to bring my baby into this world safely. And someone actually tried to stop that, over HOA rules." That single line lit a fire. The next morning, headlines swept across the country. HOA president blocks pregnant woman from delivery room. Judge forces HOA complaint to be played on live video. And HOA Karen loses everything after courtroom bombshell. The fallout hit like a hurricane. The HOA board, desperate to salvage its reputation, distanced itself from Karen. Within a month, a special vote was held. Neighbors who once cowered under her rule finally found their voice. The decision was unanimous. Karen was removed as president. She lost her power, her authority, and the fear she once wielded over everyone like a weapon. And the humiliation didn't fade. Every time she tried to spin her side of the story, at the grocery store, at neighborhood meetings, even online, someone would pull up the footage. The video of her blocking the delivery room door, shouting at my wife in labor, replayed endlessly. She could never escape it. For me, one moment is burned into memory forever. The instant the judge ordered that video to be played live. Karen thought it would vindicate her, thought it would embarrass us. Instead, it revealed her cruelty for the world to see and obliterated the empire of control she had built. Now, when I tuck my daughter into bed at night, I tell her the story, not to scare her, but to teach her. I tell her that bullies sometimes hide behind rules, behind titles, behind false authority. But when you shine a light on the truth, when you refuse to back down, they crumble under their own arrogance. Because in the end, the whole world watched HOA Karen destroy herself, not with our actions, but with her own. And as for my family, we walked away stronger than ever, together, knowing that no HOA, no Karen, and no abuse of power would ever stand in the way of our love or our future.